The only person that could take hope away from you in this is you. You can become the solution to any conflict in your life, but it starts with you. You can heal conflict, but you don't do it through more conflict. You do it through compassion and taking active steps to change yourself, not change the other person.
Hi, my name's Lawrence Joss, and welcome to the Family Disappeared podcast. Today we have part 2 of Dr. Sue, who is a ninja superstar, a wonderful individual that's doing some incredibly useful work in our community. And I love her approach to taking responsibility for our lives, for healing ourselves, for really looking at how we show up in relationships in general, and that there is a path forward no matter what's happened, no matter how you feel right now. She says something to the extent that no one can take hope away from you, only you can. So that's part of this next show. It's rich, it's wonderful. There's a lot of great information. You don't want to miss this. And following the show, the next episode is going to be a panel of parents and grandparents talking about, the alienator in us, some of the stuff we can look at where we've made mistakes and acknowledge them and start to heal, and hopefully start to heal our family system and give the audience some really great nuggets. And if you're new to the community, welcome to the community. Listen to shows in order, listen to shows out of order. There's a lot of great information, and everything builds on each other. So I think it's great to listen in order and build up and get to hear the community. And sometimes it's useful to just jump into someone in particular that seems useful. So thank you for coming out today. Welcome. If you're not familiar with our community, we have a free 12-step support group community. There's 18, 19 meetings a week. It dovetails into exactly what Dr. Sue's talking about on these couple of episodes, and is a wonderful, loving, caring community, and a great place to start to heal. And we have a plethora of other free resources. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We have an advocacy platform online that you can submit art to and anonymously share some of your story too. And I always feel like I talk like a lot in the show before we actually get anywhere. So let me stop talking and let's jump on in. So for you regulars that listen to the show often, you'll know that my middle daughter and I had some contact about 1.5 years ago now, and we texted for a while. And after doing the interview with Dr. Sue, I realized that I couldn't meet her where she was. I wanted her to meet me where I was, and at the pace that I wanted to go. And I'm having a lot of feelings coming up now about, like, I could have been slower. I could have just continued the texting for a while and let it evolve. And I couldn't stay with the fear of it going away, and I couldn't stay with the fear of just being patient. There was so much going on, and now that I look back at it, if anyone's just in these beginning stages of reconnecting, or maybe this happens for you at a later date, slow down, meet the kids, young adults, whatever they are, where they are. Let them dictate the pace, is what I would say is a thing that I would like to tell myself is it's not my pace. Yes, I have some pain and suffering and longing and desire to be in my kids' life, and I need to acknowledge that their struggle is real and hard, and everything that they're feeling is crazy challenging, and I am resourced enough to take care of myself now, and I can go slowly and at their pace. So if there's any alienated kids out there or other alienated folks out there, and you've experienced this from a parent or a grandparent or something like that, I would just like to make a universal apology. Like, we're trying the best that we can, and we mess up a lot, and I want to acknowledge it's not useful to anyone else that's struggling and is an alienated person to have that dumped on them. That's not a great way to connect. And with wonderful professionals like Dr. Sue and the work that we're doing on an interpersonal level, like, we are showing up differently, and there is hope and there is change. And and what a wonderful resource to have Dr. Sue, other folks sharing their experience, and some of the missteps that we've done. So I have a lot of compassion for myself, and also feel a little bit emotional taping this intro and outro. And I'm still in the interview a little bit and processing some of my own stuff. So one more time, a lot from me. Let's jump into the second part with Dr. Sue. Is there a difference when you're working with folks that are a parent or if they're grandparents? Are there different nuances in the reconnection and reintegration with their grandkids and kids?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question as well. And just want to go back to one thing you just said about your kids, because that brought something up in me that I thought was important, is that you wanted more. And there is not a time when you want more. It has to be that they want more. And that is one of the main things that happens. The minute that a parent wants more, that's a self-awareness check to say, no, I can't go there. That's too much pressure for a kid that's been through so much in their life to meet your needs again. However, I don't fault anybody or blame anybody for saying that or anything else. You're a parent, you miss your children, and that is also incredibly important. I want you to be with your children, but it cannot be what you want, because then they think that you're selfish again, and that's why that happened. And I'm sorry about that. But you can come back from almost everything. It takes time, and it just takes a new way of approaching things. Time does heal. Now let me get back to your other question with grandparents and parents. Yes, there is a difference. By the way, with grandparents often ask, well, should I just keep going directly to my grandchildren to heal this issue that I have with my grandchildren? And then I say, no, because you have this problem with your grandchildren because you have a problem with their gatekeeper, which is their parent, which is your son or daughter. So in order to get to your grandchildren, you have to resolve the conflict first with your own children, who are the gatekeepers of those grandchildren. So that's how it trickles down. If you have your own children are keeping you from your grandchildren because they feel that you're going to repeat with their children the same things that you did to them, that they don't want to happen with their own children.
I'm presuming, like, everything you're saying makes 100% sense. If the kids are a minor, going through the parents, reestablishing a relationship, working for that. But as the children turn into young adults, 18, 19, 20, when is it appropriate to start building that relationship directly with these kids or grandkids that you haven't had contact with?
If you do have, after they become adults, if you do have a email, right, or you do have a phone number, you can always reach out when they are adults and start to have communication again with them. But it's important to remember that they probably, for some of them, are still attached to their parents that are not so fond of you. But when you are reaching out to your grandchildren when they are young adults, please remember this. Do not bring their parents into it. Do not bring the parents up and say, I haven't understood all these years why your parents have kept me from you. It is not the child's job to give you that information. They are innocent in this. So what I suggest is you reach out to them and say, I would love to have a relationship with you, that we could maybe text once in a while. Let me tell you about myself. Let me tell you about what I'm doing. Make it very, very lax, and do not use your grandchildren for information or blame their parents, because they will cut you off too. These kids are smart and they're savvy.
I love that. That's such incredible advice, not to talk about the parents, not to ask about all the years, not to um, bring up any kind of negative contextualization for anything that's happened in their life, just coming from a place where, hey, I would like to get to know you. Here's a little bit about myself, and see what happens next with the relationship.
Right, because I think kids are curious too, especially if they had connections with their grandparents when they were younger and then it was cut off, they could be very curious again. I've seen that in different situations. But the other thing that I see brings grandparents and young adults together is the grandparent having an understanding. Just like I've understood what it's been like over the years for you, and I'm really sorry that you had to go through that. That doesn't mean that you open up a dialogue about it. It's just showing empathy for them. And showing empathy is critical in any relationship that works. And it's even more critical in relationships that are disconnected.
And a little confusion on my side in showing empathy or even reflecting back that it was really challenging and something like that. Doesn't that bring or open up wounds or rub against something sharp that might actually push the young adults further away?
Now, you think that, and other people have asked me that, but in fact, it does the opposite because somebody has recognized how difficult this has been for them. And it's a place of joining and it's a place of empathy. And oftentimes they'll say, oh, thank you for much for saying that. It has been really hard.
Okay. Got it. And the word that I common use is shared reality. So you're just creating some kind of shared reality.
Yeah, I call it joining. You could call it shared reality. I call it joining with them where they are.
Wonderful.
This was very effective early on in the work that I did with abused children. That's how I got my start in foster care many, many years ago. I wrote a book on that. And then, what I found out was, the connection is really about showing empathy for what these kids have gone through. And that you join with their reality where they are and what it's like for them going through this. Then they feel as though they have an ally, somebody that cares about them, hears them, wants to talk to them about what's going on. And it's not just about the adult, but it's actually about them.
That's incredibly powerful. And just taking a step back to the grandparents' perspective, is there anything else you can share for grandparents? Suggestions, ideas, maybe a little bit of the arc of what it is in your experience with grandparents as far as reconnecting? Is it the same arc as with parents? Is it quicker? Is it longer? Is it a lot more difficult?
I think it depends on the situation and it depends on the grandchild. It depends on where that grandchild is in their own healing, where that child is in their own trauma. And so, no, it can take longer or shorter depending on the exact circumstances. There is no timeline in healing these kinds of disconnections. It takes hard work. It takes learning where your child is, learning where the grandchild is in all of this, and really learning the communication and how they are going to hear you and how they're not going to hear you. And they're going to hear you again if you see this from their perspective, not yours. A lot of times we'll hear from grandparents that say, well, why aren't they talking to me? Why aren't they? I didn't do anything to them. And I said that at the beginning. I know you didn't do anything to them, but your grandchild is growing up in a home where they feel that you did something to their parent. And so a lot of times these children are going to side with the parent and not the grandparent. And I think one of the things that the grandparent can do is just kind of keep dripping love, saying, I'm here for you. We can have a different relationship. And I'm not looking for anything except trying to get to know you. That's another good thing to say.
And the thing that you just said, which I think is really important, and I'd like you to elaborate on a bit from the child's perspective, they are living with the perspective that you have done something to their parent. And like grandparents, and even me as a grandparent, that's a great, useful thought for you to give me. But can you talk a little bit more about that on the child's, being in the child's shoes, what that looks like, where they feel based on whatever information they're getting from their parents that you somehow harmed the parents?
Yeah, so I mean, I was one of those children, right? I thought that my grandmother was doing horrible things. Now, my mother never said that she was, okay? But I saw what was going on. And so I also had confronted my grandmother where other kids haven't done that. She definitely was doing what she was doing. This wasn't that somebody turned me against her. She was trying to turn me against my mother. Okay? But I had heard stories growing up that she wasn't the nicest person on earth, but I found that out on my own. And then I stuck with it because it was hurting me what she was doing. But when you're living in a home and one of the parents is saying to that grandchild, well, the grandchild says, "Where are my grandparents?" And the mother or the father says, "We don't talk to them anymore. They've done terrible things to us, and we're not going to talk to them anymore." Where do you think that leaves the child? It leaves them in a place where they're going to listen to their parents, and that's going to be it. It's rare that a child has an open mind, right? They're young, and this was when this begins, that they're going to make their own choices or their own decisions about a grandparent if they're being told by their own parent that their grandparents are not good people.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What a terrible position for a child to be in.
Kids. That's why I say constantly, if you want a relationship with your grandchildren, you must first work out your issues with your own children, who are the gatekeepers of your grandchildren.
That is beautiful, and I know for me as a parent and as a grandparent, there's like a lot of shame comes up, a lot of ruminating thoughts and running old plays through my head and stuff. And you talk a lot about cultivating self compassion. Can you talk about self compassion and shame and how that looks in your academy and just from your personal experience?
So what you're doing is what, you just said to me is called, what I call, and other people I think call it too, is nostalgia amnesia. Is that you keep going back into the past, which doesn't help. It causes more and more anxiety for the person that is going through this. And I know you feel that's all you can hang on to. But the past is gone. The past is the past. You can have those memories, but we're living in the here and now. And we have today and we have tomorrow. And I always encourage my clients to live in just today because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And when you go back into the past and you ruminate and you stay in those memories, all you're doing is going down in a dark tunnel that keeps getting harder and harder to come out of. And so when you're going deeper, deeper into this dark tunnel of memories, you need to pull yourself out. And so you can do this yourself. You do not need other people. We all turn to other people thinking that they can lift us up, that they can encourage us, that they can inspire us. The truth is that no, they can't. We inspire ourselves more than others. And so you can give yourself all the self-compassion you need to pull yourself out of these deep, dark holes if you know how to do it. And one of the ways to do that is, first of all, acknowledge that you do need self compassion, that you need understanding for yourself in terms of what you've gone through and how painful it is. And tell yourself, it's okay that I feel this way. It's okay that I've gone through this. I'm a good person. I can make this better. I can work on changing myself because I sure as hell can't change other people. So what I have is myself, and I can hold myself when I need to be comforted. I can tell myself that I'm okay. I can make better choices. I don't have to react from impulse. I can tell myself that I am a person that is capable of letting love in and giving love out. I am capable of change. This is how you show yourself self-compassion. And when you can show yourself self-compassion on a daily basis, instead of showing yourself self-blame or shame, then you come out a much healthier person. And so when things go bad or wrong, you don't go into the victim role because you pull yourself out with your own self-positive talk, which is what self-compassion is always built around. It's almost like, what would you say to a friend who's going through this? Say it to yourself. It's going to be okay. I can get stronger. I can learn new skills. I can do this. And see, the more you say these things to yourself, your brain starts to develop more into positive than negative.
I love the idea of self compassion. Basically, it sounds like kind of like reparenting yourself and just showing up for yourself and walking along the path with you instead of looking for these external mechanisms to somehow fix you or take care of you, or even I would say it's looking for like a quick fix, a silver bullet. Like this is a long term relationship. I'm hearing that you actually need to start cultivating with yourselves, and for a lot of us that's strange. We're not taught that in our family of origin, but I'm guessing you see wonderful results as parents start to love themselves in this way.
I mean, I do it with myself all the time too. If something goes wrong in my own life, I'm able to give myself forgiveness. I'm able to give myself self compassion. I don't shame myself. Okay. There were times when I did that, and all I did was feel horrible. But now that I am my own strong voice, I can get myself through almost anything. And I use my friends or my husband or my family around me to reach out, just to share, to vent. They are not there to take care of my needs. They are there as support to me. And people don't recognize that we are our own healers, but we have to do the work to do it. And none of this is fixable. That term fixable, you're not nailing a hammer, taking a screw and nailing something in and patching something up. These are feelings. It is trauma. It takes a long time to work through this to get to the other side. And I wish that people would understand that more, because then they would focus a lot of time on their self instead of just going straight for the reunification, which never works. Actually, I have to be very strong sometimes with clients and setting boundaries too, on terms of, oh, we're not going back there now. We're staying right here. And we're going to go deeper into this now. You can do it. And when they can break through that, when they feel they can go there, I mean, you put up so many protective defenses. That's where the defensiveness comes from, because you don't want to feel this pain. But feeling the pain is what gets you to the other side, not feeling it.
Mm. Well, I want to acknowledge nostalgia amnesia. I haven't heard that before, so I love that word, and I'm going to use it. And I will give you credit three
Go
times,
ahead.
Dr. Sue. Fourth
You're
time, it's
welcome.
mine.
Okay. Yeah, nostalgia amnesia, where you're just stuck in it. You're like that rat in the what do they call that thing that goes around and around, and all you're doing is you're just stuck in the wheel, and all you're doing is just stuck in the memories. I'm not asking you to let go or forget about those memories that were happy. I would never ask that. But getting stuck there isn't moving you ahead. It's not moving you towards anything.
Yes, yes.
That child that you knew back then, or even it's your own child, it's not the same child that came out of this. And you're going to have a very different relationship that you do now than you did before.
Mm. Mm. And something you mentioned about the self compassion and you take care of yourself and your family or your partners or whoever you can reach out to for reflection, for support, but it's not their job to take care of you. And in the beginning of the interview, you said it's not the children's job to take care of you. And the mistake a lot of parents are looking for is trying to get some emotional need met through the child instead of taking care for themselves. And the self compassion is about every single relationship. So I just wanted to come back to that for a second, and if you can just talk about like this idea of feeding from our kids emotionally because we aren't able to give ourselves a self compassion, like how damaging is that? And yeah, like what are the effects of that you see from the child's perspective and the parent's perspective?
That's another great question. I mean, here's what I'm going to say on this. Children are not brought into this world to give us the love that we did not get from our own parents. No way, no how. And I've heard that from so many parents over the years. I just wanted my children to love me because my parents didn't. That's not the right mindset or mind frame to be in, and that is damaging to your children. No child wants to feel that they have to take care of their parents' emotional needs. Look, I don't know one person on this earth who got all their needs met by their parents. Some of us had more of our needs met, some of us had less. What we do need in this world is what is called good enough parenting, not great parenting. Okay. And good enough parenting isn't just giving, the staples of life, food, water, and shelter. It's also giving empathy, compassion, and being there for your kids while making mistakes. But a lot of these parents that are in these situations grew up with parents that were not good enough in giving this kind of parenting. This is a generational problem, okay? Let's be clear on that. When you see alienation or estrangement happening now, you better bet your bottom dollar you go look in the past. It has already happened, and it's transferring over to here. Now, the parents that are able to come out of that and not repeat this are the parents that see this and get therapeutic help in some way to deal with their struggles that they had with their own parents, that their parents did not meet their needs. If they don't get that help, Lawrence, they're going to repeat that. Now, there comes a time in our life when we're all adults and we can't blame every single thing that happened on our parents. But what we can do is explore the feelings that brought up inside of us. And then we can look at that and put it to rest over time to make us better parents. And that is your work. That's your work to do. So you can show it better for yourself and then show it better for your children. No child anywhere deserves to have to take care of their parents' emotional needs. And that is when a child says, my parents did not put me first. I had to sacrifice so much to take care of this parent's needs. When you're in so much turmoil about what has gone on here, and you have a right to be. I mean, these cases get out of control. And a lot of times you have somebody on the other side who's just like shooting bullets at you and you don't know what to do. But your child is not the person to turn to for comfort. They're the ones that need the comfort from you, not vice versa. They are not your parent. They are not your therapist. They are not your confidant. And that's called boundaries.
Right. And I love the idea of good enough parenting. So many of us get wrapped up in perfectionism, in doing it right and getting it right. And we're not supposed to. There's no guidebook. We just show up.
That's right. I'm not a perfect parent. I say that all the time. I'm not. I've made mistakes, but I think I learned along the way when my parents did this good enough for me. When you do hurt your child and you're aware that you hurt your child, you go and you talk to them about it and you apologize. And you take accountability and responsibility for that right away, because that shapes who they're going to become later in life too, in their own relationships.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. And you also mentioned something before, like this idea of defensiveness and reactivity. And you said something to the effect that we're defensive or reactive because we don't want to feel our feelings. And if we stay with our feelings, we can actually work through that. Defensiveness and reactivity is what I'm guessing is your approach.
Absolutely. We spend a lot of time on working through defensiveness. What do we all do when we feel attacked, or we feel that we don't have a voice, or we feel that we're not heard, or we keep getting rejected or hurt over and over? We start to build a protective, what I call a shield around us, and we put that shield up and nobody can get through that because we're so afraid of being hurt again. And we're so afraid of looking in to our real feelings and the real truth about what happened and what our role is in it. And when we can do that and we can shed those shameful moments that we hold deep inside of ourselves because we feel different or we feel embarrassed or we're not as good as other parents because we tell yourselves that, you're going to put up defensiveness. There is nothing to be ashamed about if something like this happens. Nothing. You're human. You make mistakes. You can become stronger if you take and make the choice to choose that path. We all have choices in life. You can continue to choose that destructive path, or you continue to choose growth and development and change. We are forever evolving human beings if we want it.
Totally. That's wonderful. And I've only got a couple questions left here as we're wrapping up on our time allotment. But so many parents and grandparents are looking externally that they want to change this identified alienator or this identified other parent's behavior, and they get lost in that. Like, you really concentrate on changing your own behavior and letting go of trying to control or change anyone else. Can you just talk about that for a minute or two?
Yeah, I think that's the hottest question out there today. We talk so much about personality disordered individuals, and we throw the term narcissist around, like it's the flavors of the day on the ice cream chart. But look, there are true narcissists out there, but really only 1% of the population is a true narcissist. Other people are just pretty much damn selfish and want things the way they want it. But you will never, ever, ever change a full-blown narcissist. You will never change probably somebody with narcissistic tendencies either, because they're right all the time. They have to be right all the time to preserve their own ego. So I haven't met one person anywhere in this world that can or has changed a narcissist or someone a personality disorder. It cannot happen. And if you think you have changed them, they're not a narcissist. But what you can do, and this is what I talk about all the time on social media and in our programs that we do, is that you can only change yourself. You will never be able to change another person. And that's true in life. Okay. But you can learn how to micromanage a person like that. That's probably another show, because that's going to take a lot more than 2 minutes here.
Yes, I appreciate that, and that does sound like another show. And yeah, I'd love to step into that conversation. And I got a couple questions left back here, and again, this might be another show too. Like, how does your method stop, step back, and respond apply to parents? And yeah, it's a wonderful
Yeah.
acronym: SSR, SSBR.
Right, exactly. I don't know. I came up with that one. Stop. Well, first of all, that has to do with when you are being bombarded or feel like there's a slew of text messages or nasty emails or phone calls coming at you, where the other party, usually the parent, right, is calling you names or calling you disgusting, telling you what you need to do, bossing you around, and bullying you. Okay, that's when you have to stop and take a step back. All right. And you cannot, please do not respond when somebody's coming back to you like that. The only response that I would like you to do is, I'm not participating in this conversation while you continue to call me names, and we will talk later. End it there, because oftentimes you do have to talk to your narcissistic co-parent. It's something that we have to do in life, but there are ways of managing them. So first you need to stop and pull away from that and not respond automatically when you get a text message, unless there's an emergency going on that you need to be in front of your child immediately. Okay. The second thing is stop. So we did stop, right? And now we're going to do, what's my next one there?
Step back.
That's what I meant. Step back. So you stop, you say, I'm stepping back now. I'm not going to respond to this for at least 2 to 3 hours. Because in those 2 to 3 hours, I'm going to calm myself down, because nothing good ever comes out of impulse control. Okay? Nothing. That's how you ruin relationships, by just letting your fingers do the talking. And then you respond or react in a very calm way, with a statement that is designed to not elicit more attacking. Now, somebody can always attack you, but you can always stop it by pulling back.
Mm.
You're in control of how to handle when somebody is coming towards you in an attacking way. You've got to shut it down. And that's how you do it. You don't have to respond just because somebody's sending you something unless there's an emergency. But it pumps up your adrenaline and you want to just get back and call them names. But all you're doing is feeding into their chaos.
Mm. I love that.
Stop, pull back, and respond.
That's fascinating. Thank you for clarifying that. And just a final words for people. How do they get hold of you? How do they find out about your academy? And is there any other services that you offer? If you can just let folks know a little bit more about that before we say goodbye.
Right. So we really are a coaching practice, a parent reunification coaching practice, and grandparent. And the reason that we are that is because traditional therapy, as I have learned along the way, I now have a doctorate in psychology, is that traditional therapy does not work in terms of reunifying parents or grandparents with their children. And it's because you need hands-on plans, action plans. You need to learn language. You need to learn coping skills. You need to learn a whole new way of mindset to go forward with this. Also, we work with you on a daily basis. This isn't just one time a week. We're working with you throughout the week. We're teaching you how to communicate. We're giving you new skills. So that's one thing we do. The Compassion Academy is a program that we designed that you can purchase through our website to give you a start in learning how to give yourself self-compassion and learn the beginning ways of reconnecting with your children or your grandchildren and getting in touch with yourself. I also have a new program coming out with the Grandparents Academy later this month for grandparents. Okay. And that is three videos, trainings that I did on how to help grandparents reconnect with their grandchildren. So that'll be on the grandparentsacademy.com. And we do give a free 30-minute consultation for anybody that wants to reach out to us, because we feel that we're your partners in this and that we have to feel that we have a connection with you to work with you. Okay. And you can reach us at www.drsuandyu.com. That is DRSUEANDYOU. And any information you need is there. You can follow me on social media. I give tips every day and about how to reunify. And, there's just lots of resources there.
Thank you for that. And I love to hear that you have 30-minute free consultations just so you can see if it's a fit. Not very many people do, so that's incredibly generous.
I've always done that because I really feel I want to get to know you and I want to see if you are capable of doing this work. That is very important in going forward with this. And also, I feel like people need to feel in the beginning that they're being heard.
Yes, yes, and yes to being heard.
Especially in this, and not just saying, well, this is what your case is, and this is it, and this is what you should do. No, every case is different and unique, and it deserves to be treated that way. And I also just want to say this as we close, that the only person that could take hope away from you in this is you. You can become the solution to any conflict in your life, but it starts with you. You can heal conflict, but you don't do it through more conflict. You do it through compassion and taking active steps to change yourself, not change the other person.
What a wonderful way to wrap this up. And Dr. Sue, you have been incredibly informative. I love your approach and what you're offering. And you're also a hoot to talk to. So thank you for that. And thanks for taking the time to come out and play with us for a little bit.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed being on. You asked great questions today.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Yeah.
Hoofa. Dr. Sue gets a hoofa and a wow. Maybe an extra wow and an extra hoofa. I really enjoyed the interview. I really we just finished doing like our post interview wrap up, and I'm realizing like I should be taping those too, because some of the post interview wrap ups may be better than the actual interview. So I learned something today, and that's the point of the show. We learned something today. Maybe we can change something later in the day or tomorrow or in a year, or maybe we can reflect on how we showed up in the past and see there would have been a more useful way to do that. And maybe that's the path to healing. And maybe it's a path to healing ourselves. Maybe it's a path to healing some of our relationships. But what a great show. Dr. Sue, again, is a rock star. And just to reiterate, she offers a 30-minute consultation, which I think is really generous. And she has some wonderful resources on her website. She has a social media presence and puts tips out on a daily basis. And yeah, yeah, really, a really wonderful lady sharing a wonderful perspective that is a practical perspective. It's not a theoretical perspective. It is actually how we can live our lives and our relationships. So I loved it. I love you, Dr. Sue. Thanks for coming out and playing. And everyone in the community, great resources in our show notes. Come out and check out the free 12-step support group. It's wonderful. Every meeting's different. Every meeting has different leaders and secretaries. So try several meetings to see if it's a fit for you. And it takes time to get used to, because it is recovery based. It is about working on ourselves, exactly like Dr. Sue's saying. And we are a 501c3 nonprofit. Can use any kind of support if you have the resources to do that. And if anyone hasn't told you yet today, I love you and I love me. And I think Dr. Soon really nailed it on the head. Like, I need to love me in order to love you. So have a beautiful day, and we will see you around the neighborhood. Bye bye.